Today is officially the day 2 of my attempt as a multiple day stream binge for the purpose of giving myself hallucinations of Pekora. I have saved 800 milligrams of Adderall from the last 3 months and will be re-upping constantly over the next several dozen hours because my body hates me and builds tolerance like a motherfucker. I also stopped taking my antipsychotics and mood stabilizers 4 days ago. The constant dopamine rush from the Adderall and forcing myself to watch non-stop archives of Pekora while alternating occasionally with archives of her roommate are sustaining my mania. I have started to see shadows moving in my peripheral vision, but more importantly, I heard her laugh in the distance today while making breakfast, which I realized I couldn't eat because fucking Adderall, despite having restarted my computer and my phone being off. I intend to now keep a low volume looped video of her laugh on in the background for all her archives to try and exacerbate this going forward. Redoing 30 milligrams in 2 hours from this post. I feel good. I think I'm gonna make it, bro. Even if it's just for a second. If you can reach a state where I feel like I'm with her, even for a day, even an hour, I spend that time with the person I love the most in the world. This will mean the world to me. We'll probably post an update in 4 to 6 hours. I try to force myself through every archive, even if I get strong urges to pause or look away. To try and train my brain to accept that this is what must see whether it wants it to or not. Literally meds! Most likely not pasta. Anon. Godspeed, you magnificent bastard. Wait, when you see shadows moving on your peripheral vision, isn't that your eyes are fucked? I need meds too? This isn't what I had in mind when I told you to take your meds. I promised you an update, and a new Usagi always delivers. Took 30 milligrams about 3 hours ago, but half an hour ago I felt a wave of just muscle ache / weakness pass through me and trigger a bit of a sweat and nausea. So I topped up with another 20 milligrams and I'm gonna watch my state going forward for the next hour or two and see if I need to re-up against before my expected 4 hours between constantly titrated doses. I finished watching Pekora FO4 archive number 1. I remember not being able to watch it when it aired because of my work schedule completely overlapped it and was just non-stop. I was so sad, but I never really liked watching archives, so I never got around to it. But I wish I did it sooner. I don't know if the 2+ days of dopamine in my system, or how my sleepiness usually in crankiness because I got overly focused on minor things that began to stand out to me. But god, watching these is making me fall in love with Pekora all over again. Maybe that's not right to say, I loved her with all that I could. But now with the focus of the stims and the horse blinder effect of my efforts and the inability to my tired mind to see anything but her. It's all the distractions are beginning to melt away. I hear the subtle lilts in her voice, the curiosity for every little thing. Even typing this, my ears are tearing up, and haha, she loves everything she does, and I'm so happy. I live in the same world as her. Fuck man, I also think I'm getting more protective of her. I was planning on watching a roommate archive in between this episode 1 of FO4 and episode 2. But I decided at some point to watch an older membership stream from when she first came into my life. And then I got reminded of the Holocaust. It's like all of these raw emotions of primal rage came rushing right back when it happened. Feeling like somebody was right there literally tearing at my soul, ripping her away from me. I managed to step away from the computer and restrain myself, but I punched holes in walls during some of my tantrums. When I was younger, and I felt like that, but even stronger. Usually when I'd be lacking this much sleep, I'd begin to increasingly annoyed at everybody around me. Noticed their little verbal tics, and it began to grate on me. But everything she does is perfect. Her voice, her mannerisms, her indecisiveness. The way she glances at the chat when she's uncertain. The way you can see her trying so hard to fill the dead air. All because she loves us, trying to make us feel safe and happy. How she wants to protect us, and I want to be there for her instead. I just want to show her how much I love her, how much she doesn't need to try so hard for my sake. Even I have to say it to a hallucination, spill my heart out to her. At least I think I know going forward that I spoke the truth out loud, and it'll make me feel a little better. In terms of actual phenomenon, Not much has changed. The shadows in my peripheral are getting steadily more common, but it's within an expected range for this type of binge at this point. I would say that I swear some of the shadows look like hair, but I don't know yet if that's because they really do or because I'm just trying to convince myself that they look like hair and are closer than the usual to make myself feel about this actually working. Let's hope it's the former. At this point I feel like I don't want to stop experiment until I get something I can be satisfied with. I have enough Addy for at least constant re-ups of 25 milligrams every 4 hours for 5 days. But I'm also thinking a bit more than recently and expect to increase my dosage over time. Luckily, the 800 milligrams from previous months, I got my full month supply just 5 days ago. So strictly speaking, I have another 900 milligrams to take. If I feel like it, I should push this further. Nothing much else has changed. Mania is still mostly there. I managed the flush that caused me to the dose earlier than usual, but there was only one. I mentioned earlier that when I was binging Archive, sometimes I would get strong urge to look away. But I didn't mention that when I got the urge. I started getting a strong urge to cry. Like legitimately bawl like a baby. A massive wave of this weird, almost nostalgic, deep sense of loss and pain. But I just can't afford myself to watch through it, that because I figured it would pass as I acclimated. And I was right on that part at least. Honestly, it's probably just being of the mood stabilizers and a situation of like an eager overflow, because otherwise I feel so happy. But they're going away now. I still feel the twinge mentally when I feel like they're about to hit, like a lurch in my stomach. But recently I just fade into the comfy fuzziness instead. Seek help. Dude, what the fuck? No Sagis like you are the reason I come to this thread. Also the Toa post, but this stuff helps too. Maybe it's finally time to stop taking those meds. Update free time. In terms of dosage, I definitely underestimated the rate of which my tolerance will increase, and I will have to accommodate that going forward. Took 25 milligrams 5 hours ago, but the flashes hit me a few times within the next 2 hours, so I quickly redosed another 20 milligrams of Addy to spark my dopamine again. Since they were happening more often, but after taking a 40 milligram re-up 1 hour ago, I haven't had one yet. One of the cold flashes happened in the middle of one little crying moment's pre-comfy transition mid-Pekora FO0 for archive number 2. It made me hit a real bad way. I started actually bowling outright there and then. I didn't pause or look away, but I got a little scared. That particular attack made me feel like I used to when I used to cut myself. That sort of disassociation with myself. But this time it wasn't because of the usual reasons I had. I started to genuinely try and whisper myself to start cutting Pekora's name into me. Essentially what I did when I cut myself when I was younger was that I did while insulting myself and whispering to myself how I'm a piece of shit because I'm not doing this or that thing like studying or exercising or whatever. And I put me into this weird hyper-focus mode when I could literally stop letting personal desires get in my way. It helped with procrastination back then, but it caused me to have episodes occasionally, and after stopping, people told me how scared they were by how I was behaving. I remember the urge. I sort of personified that willpower that focused me to cut. Turned the shower to full cold and forced myself to stand there until my skin went numb. As the real me, gave him a stern voice and thought really hard about him saying stuff like, remember the goal, and sort of Pavlov trained myself to trigger behavior when I did that. All it began but I heard him for the first time at that attack. I think basically and I'm not shitting you, went and said do it for her, and I felt myself begin to fade out, and I started to go for the cabinet next to my computer desk that has all my shaving stuff. I went as far as pulling it out and grabbing the gauze, antibiotic ointment, alcohol swabs, etc., and I felt myself sort of fade mentally that and I just started Pekora smiling at me. I knew I had to do this to reach her. I was wasting time and I needed to learn give up everything because the only thing that mattered was reaching her, etc., that kind of stuff. The crying fit passed into a comfy fade no long after. But I was already cleaning my upper arm, so I need to keep an eye on that. I want to find her, but I'm not sure I should listen. I want to be with Pekora, but right now I need to push myself a ways. I'm only like halfway through at day 2. Day 4 for me is the longest, and that's been the realest hallucinations hit. The shadow definitely spiked. I think I'm at the proper shadow people stage now instead of just peripheral hints. But I think whether I'm doing is working. When I jump stuff, I usually see vague kinda hulking, burly monster shapes. But earlier I jumped at what I for a split second truly believed was her. It was fucking terrifying. My BP must have gone to the moon. Because my heart was beating out of my chest, but was just fucking vacuum cleaner when I came to and realized it. Also in the stage when the paranoia kicks in, I'm locking my bedroom door and I double checking locks, etc. I don't know why though, I feel paranoia not being able to, alone like usual, but more like a paranoia that something was trying to get away. It's hard to explain. I guess I like jealously almost, like the kind of thing that bitches feel when they constantly feel like they need to check their boyfriend's phone to see if they're cheating. I ended up bringing the vacuum cleaner into the room with me, and I honestly think part of my my locking the door isn't just keeping generic bad things out, but also want to keep myself and Pekora here. Lock away from the world and everybody else. I want us to just be here, together. God, I want to see her so bad. I just want to wrap my arms around her, love her, kiss her. God, I'd be so much to her, and I'd give her everything she asks for. I heard her words in the last a few more times. They're still vague, maybe like 2 to 3. The words surprised me though, because they must be few sentences I could understand in Japanese. If I tried to remember them, but like when I heard them, they're short snippets in lip, but I know what the words mean before I do mental calculation to get the meaning in English. And for those of you that never had auditory hallucinations before, it's the same feeling you have when a dude yells out for a split second. You get nervous because you get the strong sense that they're talking to you. It's like that. It's like you get the start because you immediately just rapidly think, Pekora is talking to me, oh god. A very censored image of a not safe for work Pekora that Anon included in his message. Maido, can you just ban him already? What happens in a person's mind to become like this? Anon locks himself in his bedroom with a vacuum cleaner to keep him and Pekora away from the threats of the world. Schizophrenia isn't contagious, right? This has inspired me to sell my soul to those girls that marked my neck in my dreams for Lemmy. Update 4. Few hours until day 3. Took my 40mg of Adderall redose about 2 hours ago and it's held me well. The massive cold sweats have only hit once and it was right before I think the last one of Adderall hit, while the previous was fading. And holy fuck, I need to stay on the redose schedule and tighten it because it made my head swim really bad along with darkening vision. But the worst was this falling sensation. Like a combination of massive stomach butterflies combined with the dropping sensation that you go down a roller coaster. Like somebody dumped a bucket of TV static in my head. The process must be working because in the middle of the panic attack, I remember being completely concretely convinced that not only was Pekora there, I needed to get her approval for this to stop. I started begging her out loud, pretty much screaming, and went feral for a bit until it passed. Just begging her to forgive me and come to me. I've had no delusion that strong often, not since I got my first girlfriend and suspected my cat of being a secret agent who wanted to cause us to break up. I didn't want to poop without logging out of Skype first in case my cat would use me being out of the wrong to send bad messages to my girlfriend to make her break up with me. But that one was right at the start of back then. My girlfriend was just clumsy first love affection. Fighting off the harm to the relationship felt important, but in a Romeo and Juliet sort of way. It was lighter in contrast. I sank lower because of the grief the delusion caused that I have in a long time. The implications of losing her, I felt almost religious. I always read Why Even Live posts on 4chan, but I think I really never found them funny, more sad, and just because how it really is the case. The moments where I remember that she's not there, talking and laughing in my ear, feel like stab wounds to me. I'd rather get stabbed than not find her. I don't need anything else. It's getting hard to concentrate for blocked periods of time, and I think my memory is beginning to just autopilot itself and drift towards Pekora by itself. It has been for a while. I think, but a quick phone call with a friend, and I thought it would fine. Apparently, had them laughing because they thought I was apparently just threading and spilling spaghetti. I just made sure to set up a whole sickness excuse for a few weeks before this. Telling anybody I thought might call me about getting really sick. Coincided with the minor surgery I had recently, but I faked being in pain, so they gave me a bit of painkillers, so I was able to use that and the hospital band to give them a narrative for why I went dark and acted weirdly during this. Apparently there were times during the conversations where I said something, but repeated it later like I was responding to the same thing twice. But I have no memory of this, so my mind must just be blanky occasionally, and I just don't notice it verbally. I do edit these posts before I post them, and I did notice misplaced words and repeating words before but I always type like an ESL when I stream of my consciousness, so I didn't know it was me or effects of my experiment. I'd normally be troubled by this, but I feel happy and a little dizziness is fine. But looking back to my raw post content, I have a lot more full-on Steam rambling about Pekora, just constantly relating to her and beginning to blog about why she matters to me. I kinda want to, because fuck, even now I'm typing this, I'm just sitting up, I literally defined myself around her schedule. I watch her streams now, and I can't help but feel like I'm, like it's my tether, my hopes, because fuck, even now I'm typing this, I'm just sitting up. I literally define myself around the schedule, I watch the streams, and now I can't help but feel like it's my tether to my hopes and dreams. Just her voice and everything sends little emotional twitches through me, like whether those tingles, ASMR, slurs talk about feeling, but I've only really ever felt when I listen, and dreams. Just her voice and everything sends little emotional twitches through me, like whether those tinges, ASMR slurs talk about feeling, but I only really ever felt when I listened to Pekora voice packs I bought when she does her whispery voice. Jesus Christ, I'm getting, it's almost like I'm becoming him. I'm reading the same things twice. The Pekora voice packs I bought when, but it wasn't apparent until earlier today. I walked out of my room with my wireless earbuds in for something, and I just stood there as I struggled to remember why. Then I really realized I was experiencing time skips too. I remember just glancing at the kitchen clock, and it was 8:14. I swear I only remember walking to the fridge, opening it, washing my hands, standing in the sink for a few seconds, and then beginning to walk back to my room. And by accident, I glanced at the clock again. Fucking 8:25. No clue what I actually did, but it doesn't feel like amnesia. I had Pekora voice packs on in my wireless earbuds, but then that stuff can sometimes blend into becoming basically the background noise I had in my states and replaces the usual talking to myself background thoughts I have normally. I've been having moments about those too, by the way. When the voice I used to personify my willpower talked when I was younger, I think I trained myself to the point where I would begin to speak almost subconsciously. I basically did it so that I was always either studying or exercising. Anytime I would swap to a tab on Reddit or YouTube to play music, I would make the voice shout no and then force myself to turn it off. If I fucked up a few times, I hurt myself, cut myself, cold shower, etc. Making that voice essentially become synonymous with acts of self-discipline. Anyway, I think I feel it is a bit now, so sometimes if I begin to wander in my mind when watching Pekora, I get the mental pulse. I feel immediately sick with myself for having thoughts about something but her. My back straightens and I just sort of refocus on her in the archive. The desire to hurt myself when I fail her is stronger now, and I really want to make her happy. I probably do have to make sure I make myself stop being a worthless sack of shit, but this is selfish because this must be about her. I need to meet her, and if I start focusing on myself, it'll be pointless because I'm trying to make my brain understand that it has no choice but to unite me with the person I love the most in this world. I think I keep straying, though I'll have no choice but to start using pain as a method of making myself straighten up and refocus, especially as my thoughts get hazier. I thought of something else to do, Because I know about how if you make an image have certain respective fuckery or seizure fuckery, it can leave an after image. I think after this, I'm going to quickly whip up a picture of Pekora and then invert it. And then make it a GIF, just swaps between the two, full screen it, and play in the dark room. I feel like that I will be leave an after image when I close my eyes, if I stare at it for long enough. I also see static when my eyes are closed, if I place them like when I rub my eyes after I wake up. So maybe take shifts of staring at the flashing Pekora image, then press, then repeat. The goal is to see her no matter what, and also maybe I see her face more often, my brain will begin to more easily make association with sound, shapes and hair. Jesus Christ. Meds.